Right. Now, let's go to the next category. The next category is our other negative one, and that is disappointment of the year. Those games that we were hyped as fuck for, and they just let us down at the final hurdle. Previous winners in this category: in 2016, No Man's Sky; in 2017, Middle-earth: Shadow of War; in 2018, We Happy Few; in 2019, Rage 2; and in 2020, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. The pain that Jack experienced
still hurts. I still hurts.
This year's nominees in this dubious category are 12 Minutes, Alex Kidd and Miracle World DX, Axiom Verge 2, Bowser's Fury, eFootball 2022, GTA Trilogy, the Definitive Edition, Mario Golf Super Rush, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Skatebird, and Super Meat Boy Forever. Our first up to the chopping block in this category will be none other than Mr. Jack Lazell again.
Oh my bloody hell.
Oh wow.
Tell you what, getting the knives out early. Right. Wow. I mean, so here's the thing. For something to really disappoint me, I do have to have a level of anticipation or emotional investment in it. Now, the thing that I'm going to cut first, my anticipation and emotional thing, it kind of happened maybe a day or two before it came out. I saw some pictures. I thought, oh my God, that looks cool. And the first 5 to 10 minutes of this game I was playing, I was like, this is such a great time. I'm really enjoying myself. And then I started playing the game and it played like shit. And I played it for about 30 minutes maybe, and then quit it and never played it again. And that is Skatebird. Skatebird comes off this list. I would love a competitor to Tony Hawk, like in the video game format. We've heard that.
And Tony could literally have been a hawk.
Yeah, he could have been. There could have been a Tony Hawk, and no.
I'm doing it. This is going to be the first pushback. I don't know if Skatebird wins this, but there are things on here that I think go way, way before Skatebird because
I'm shocked at this.
Skatebird, like, all right, fine. I wasn't expecting Tony Hawk's or skate. All right, I wasn't expecting this kind of real, like, authentic skating experience, but the first 5 to 10 minutes of this game got me thinking, you know what, this could be all right. It's got a character about it, like the birds, the way they're kind of bopping around on the
character
skateboard. Creator.
Yeah, the character creator is great. Get the mohawk on the bird and stuff.
And that probably is part of the problem with how disappointed I was. Is like for those first 5 to 10 minutes, I'm like, we could be onto something here. And it's not even like this kind of slow, kind of gradual feeling that just something doesn't feel right. It is literally within the first 5 seconds when you try to do the first ollie. Yeah. You're like, no, actually, every single thing about this game mechanically does not work. And at no point does it get better than that.
It is the most instantaneous. Oh no! Like it is within 10 seconds of touching the controller in the actual game. You're like, oh, you didn't make Simpsons skateboarding, did you? Oh, you did. Oh no!
Like this game it feels unfinished. You know.
Yeah, it's a tacit misunderstanding by developers as to how easy it is to recreate that original feeling from Neversoft of those Tony Hawk games. Like, really, when you think about it, that is lightning in the bottle of how perfect the physics of those games felt to play. Like, you think, okay, well, there's so many clones that someone would have emulated this like relatively well, but no one ever has. And this is one of the worst versions of it I've ever played. However, how long did you know about Skatebird before it came out? Like
a little while.
Oh yeah,
I mentioned it on Game of the Year last year. That
it had some E3s. It had some E3s. Now, to be fair, I'm with Jack. I would have cut it. I thought it sucked, but like I thought the trailers were cute. But like I wasn't super disappointed that this little irony.
You know, if there's two of you, then
I'll let Dave.
I didn't even play Skatebird because like I didn't really expect that much of it, and to me, compared to the stuff I have played, but again, like comparing stuff I haven't played to stuff I have played.
I swear to God, look, it's on Game Pass. Just please, I beg you, play it for the 5 minutes.
Oh after that,
pretty bummed.
After that fucking glowing review, Mark, how could I resist?
I'm happy. I'm happy to keep it on for a little while for Mark. We did capture in that little conversation there. Like there was the pre-release hype and then the disappointment. But like the lad said, The menu's got a nice little funky little soundtrack to it. It looks nice. The character creator is genuinely kind of cool. You've got lots of little options, more options than you would think for a silly little kitschy Game Pass game that even if it was good, you would only played it for an hour. And then it's the press A to skate, and then you're in the game. It's that disappointment is real. So I don't think it wins, but I'm happy to keep it. I think there's other stuff that can go.
Jack, do you want to throw something else up here? Or do you want to pass it?
No, I won't. Look. I'm. This must be a passion project of one person here, and I played a little bit of this game around a friend's house, and I watched Barry play a lot of this game, and thought it looked pretty cool. Why is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart on here?
That is mine. That is my nominee.
Is it really? Because you seem like you were having a good time when I was watching.
I kind of get it. Like, I don't think it is anywhere near, but I do kind of get like what that game was presented as, and this kind of like next step for the PlayStation 5 and everything.
And the way it opens, like the opening great. And how it looks, and you're like, oh fuck, we are in for some shit. And the dimensional
That's the
rift,
section I played.
The things mechanically going on with the Rift stuff, it blew my fucking mind. But I got the similar feeling like maybe 3 or 4 hours in, where I'm just kind of like, oh,
it looks
this is
like
all it is.
It looks like a PS5 game, but it still plays like a PS3 game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was part of my my disappointment. I didn't expect this to be Game of the Year, but I thought for sure this should be on my list. I thought this would be my solid number 10. I'm like, hey, the 2016 game is great. These games aren't fucking flagship Mario games. They don't have to be. That's fine. I think 2016 game is great. I dabbled with the PS2 games. I think it's fantastic. I did stream the first couple of levels. I was like, this looks phenomenal. It feels great. All the weapons are wacky. And it was diminishing returns. It really was. I think it does look great early on, but once you get out of the wacky cyberpunk area and you go to generic platforming alien world, I think the game looks incredibly unremarkable for the most part. I think also the game has a mix of kind of some more straightforward linear levels and some more open worldy levels. And in true platforming style, you're encouraged to go off the beaten path a little bit, explore, little platform down here with a collectible. This game has so many invisible walls.
Oh man!
And like the open world with the Morts, that planet, which is a great planet, lots of characters on it that I really like. That sector has a massive open world map, and they encourage you to like ride around on these like water snails. They're like little jet skis. Yeah. And the amount of times I went up what looked like a ramp, thinking there's definitely something on the other side of that because they put a ramp here, and I like clip through the fucking wall and fall to my death, or I hit an invisible wall, or even on a linear level, I'm like, oh. That they've animated a little is that a platform down there with a little collectible? Oh no, I just fell through that as well. Oh, okay. Like it's really, really bizarre for an Insomniac game.
Can I tell you how uninspired I was to continue thinking or playing about this game? Is that when I finished this game, I was 1 trophy away from a platinum, and I didn't bother.
I think I'm 2. I think I'm right there with you.
I traded it in.
I wonder if it's the same platinum, because I got stuck on a platinum for about 3 days where I knew I was doing whatever the accomplishment was, and I was going into like the battle arena place to try and get
it is that one. I tried it once, realized it was probably glitched, and traded it in.
Yeah, I managed to make it work. I don't know if it was just through sheer attrition, but I knew I was doing the exact requirements.
The one with that weapon that you have to project the things back at them. Yeah, I tried it once. I was like, either this is really finicky or it's glitched. I don't care. I didn't even Google to see if it was glitched. I just traded it in. I was just like, I don't want to spend a single second more playing this. It looked, again, the more I think about it, the more I think that level 1 was specifically over designed as the tech demo for the console, and the rest of it is just could easily have happened on the PS4.
It doesn't have the fucking Groovitron gun.
Yeah,
like what are we doing here? That's half the reason I play Ratchet and Clank games. I want to see like what dance move will this enemy do when I give the Groovitron gun?
I think the fact that what I saw Barry stream and what I played sounds like the only bit of the game that I really needed to play.
Yeah.
I feel very happy.
This is the ultimate game. If these things were still a thing, which I don't think they are, if you went to Smith's and they had the little PS2 demo station set up there and you played, like back in the day, I played my first match of SmackDown, just bring it on one of them. It's like if those things still exist today and some kid played that level I played of Ratchet and Clank, and they thought that's the greatest thing ever, and then their mom told them, "You're not having that. It's 80 quid. You little fucker, get out of here." He would have got the best part anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Solid.
Do you know what else
a
as
factor
well?
of this, it was 80 fucking quid as well. Also,
do you know the way like the truly great games, like you're just constantly thinking about them, and there are a lot of games that we'll be talking about later that I just kept thinking about as I was playing it, and after I finished playing them. If you burst in through this door behind me here and put a gun to my head and say, "What is the story of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart?" I could not tell you.
That's my other big issue. This is Insomniac. Okay, they wrote a good little Ratchet and Clank reboot, and then they wrote 2 phenomenal Spider-Man stories in those games. Like, those are great. Those are not just good stories. Those are great stories that hold up against some of the movies. Okay, they are genuinely great, full of character. This movie, I understand this is a kids game, but we also know the kids media doesn't have to be dumbed down, patronizing preschool stuff. This game is so babyish in its characterization of everyone. It's all its edges are sanded down to a crazy level. There's no depth to anything. There's no sting in any of the tale.
It's not even just the story. It's mechanically, it's that as well.
Yeah,
and that's my bigger problem.
It's a game by committee. Like, you know what I mean?
It really is.
It feels like everything that could have been remotely interesting about it was focus tested out of existence, or that's too hard, or that'll take too much time. We want this fucker out by date X.
Does this stay on then? Because it kind of sounds like it does.
No, well, I don't think this has a hope in hell of winning.
Really? Because you make like a fair argument for why it stays.
So because at the end of the day, it was still fine.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. As the person who Dave, did you nominate this? Or was it just me?
I nominated it as well.
Okay, yeah. I will say, like you said, it's ultimately. I did finish it. I'll say that much. It did look very good in parts of it. The music was okay. There were some memorable sections. I thought the final act was good. I thought the build up to the finale was good. There's other stuff here that I was also very excited for that outright stank. This game I think at worst this drops off in the middle of the pack, so we might as well get rid of it.
I feel like we're probably going to talk more about it in the ham sandwich.
Yeah, this sounds more like a sandwich.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's because that opening level makes you think it's top 10. Like, I played that first level and I literally did go into our spreadsheet and put it on my game of the year list. And then by the time I finished it, I meekly went back in and changed.
I also had it on my game of the year list, but that was also because it was way earlier in the year and I haven't played other stuff yet.
I think a factor also, just one last thing before we cut it, I think a factor in the disappointment is that this was one of the few, and there was few, very teeny tiny, this was a PS5, this is the fucking PS5 game, folks. You gotta go and get this game to play this, get this system to play this game, and it did not deliver on that front for me, but it can go.
Right, I'm next. Easy one for me here. I may get Mark may push back for a second game straight, but I'm putting Axiom Verge 2.
No. It's
because again, it's not like I didn't like it as much as the original. I know, Mark, you didn't like it, but you also weren't hugely gone on the original.
No, that's for me is the thing is like Axiom Verge was fine, but like Hollow Knight exists.
Ultimately it is fine, and like I don't know. I kind of, the Axiom Verge 2 is coming. Oh, it's out. Lead in time was so short that I didn't get myself too hyped, you know? So whatever. It can go.
I played a bunch of Metroidvania games this year, and honestly,
including a literal Metroid.
Including a literal Metroid. And
why isn't that on this, by the way? I forgot to add this onto this fucking
Barry,
list.
We will have a fight about that later on, and I'm not starting now. Right?
Oh boy!
I know it's coming. You son of a bitch. Actually,
the spice is emerging. Right. Okay. Next up, Mark.
Oh, let me tell you about a little game called Alex Kidd DX.
That's
right. So
Degeneration.
It does the whole thing that Wonder Boy does. Like, you can switch between the new graphical style and the old graphical style. The problem is that they also didn't decide to update the physics and mechanics. So you're basically playing the old game, but with like this new art style. Paint. Yeah. And the collision detection, 30 years later, doesn't hold up very well.
Do you know what it feels like to me, Mark, is this year's Mario 3D collection is like they did a little bit of work, but not nearly as much as you might have hoped.
Right. No. They didn't do any work other than the art style.
But also, fundamentally, this was a game that always made me mad and now it just makes me mad in a slightly prettier package.
See, as is well documented on this podcast, Alex Kidd in Miracle World was the first game that I ever played. So I do have a very kind of like severe case of rose tinted glasses that now having, and I hadn't played Alex Kidd in a long time, but now having played this updated version, like the biggest disappointment here is really just with myself. And like, I was lied to as a 3-year-old.
We played like the first few levels that time. I found my Master System in the attic here when you lived with me, and other than that, we haven't played it since we were kids. So it was kind of just like, it is a rose tinted thing, because like we always talked about it, and people of our generation always talk about Alex Kidd, but then you play it, and even on the original art style, you're just kind of like, maybe this always sucked.
Because there are a bunch of games from like that era when I was 3-4 that I have those rose tinted glasses, but like you can go play Mega Man 2 and that's still a really good game.
It's under the category of like, do you think I'm running back in 2021 to play Commander Keen? No.
And I will say that like the paint job that they do for it, like it does have a lot of life and colors to it, and you know there are little touches here and there, so like just to kind of look at, like it's really pleasant. But the fact that they didn't update the rock paper scissors mechanic, and that's purely still based on luck,
if they made a brand new one with some new ideas in that new art style, I would still be interested.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right, Barry.
Okay. Pardon my French. What the heck is Bowser's Fury doing on this?
I was just thinking that.
Because it doesn't use the Odyssey style controls, and so therefore it doesn't work.
But it's not an Odyssey style game.
Sorry.
What?
The 3D world controls in an open world Mario game do not work.
Will we just step out, Jack?
No. You, sir.
It's sluggish as hell. It's just not that interesting to go around. I got the idea of it after about 10 minutes, and after like the 5th time that Bowser came down to like have a fucking rant, I was like, all right, sure, whatever.
Is he a fucking podcaster or something?
I'm just gonna switch on the old.
Not actually that good. I'm sorry, it's just not.
But as a because it's also a very short, condensed little package thing. It's not like,
and I was disappointed for the whole thing.
It's not, but I actually kind of agree on the 3D world controls in a proper quote unquote Mario space. I think that was not the best system ever, but I still think it had the Mario charm. I think it had the art. I think it had fantastic music. I think it was, for its runtime, I thought it was this was the year of the good, tight, focused, shorter experience for me, and I think it's so rare to have that in a Mario game. It was not. I heard it kind of overhyped a little bit as, oh my god, it's like they finally did open world Mario, and now I'll never look at Mario the same. I was like, they didn't. You know, I agree with that.
Really, it's not even really open world.
No, it's not.
Like every area is kind of broken off, and then sure you can go back to it if you want, whatever. Like it's not open world.
It's not. It's. I would definitely agree
with
open
world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's basically it's no more open than Odyssey. People are acting like this is Breath of the Wild, which obviously it wasn't.
It just doesn't have a level select. That's all it is.
That's all it is. Yeah. But I do think that those levels they designed were still well designed. And while I didn't love the 3D world controls, I also don't think they really took from the experience for, well, he says, getting pink faced and sweaty and screaming at it on Twitch many a times, because it was a hard game to play with people watching. But I still think that it had a lot of the good quality 3D Mario-ness that I like. And also, again, you know, I mean, if you didn't enjoy it even for its limited runtime, that's fair enough. I can't dispute that. But I do also think as a little extra thing on what the main package was, a remaster of an old game. Yeah. You know, I would find it hard for it to win this category.
The way I would maybe look at it is that one of us cares a lot about how disappointing this was. One of us cares a lot that it doesn't win this category, and I thought don't really care that much.
But I thought it was fun. Look, I thought it was fun. It was a fun game.
I think the way that you want to look at this is like, it depends on how you want to view this, right? Because it is fair that obviously it is a much shorter condensed package than a Mario Odyssey, Galaxy, or whatever you want to say. But it still is like the first fully fledged original 3D Mario game since Odyssey. Right? So it's like, what do you want to do here? Do you want to just view it as this kind of like side package to this remake that and you know what, fair play to Mario, because let's be honest, when it comes to their like remakes of their 3D packages and stuff, they haven't exactly done a bang up job this year with another one of them.
Of course.
So I can give them credit at least that, hey, here's this kind of new original experience. And right, maybe I don't have to view it as this kind of full original 3D Mario game. But on the flip side of that, like, okay, I have kind of said before about like issues that I have with Odyssey, but it is still an incredible game. I'm not going to, it is still an amazing game. And so there is like at least a level that I'm expecting from a 3D Mario experience. And whether it's just because, because this is like two separate games that have been smashed together, that, they didn't have enough time to do all the things they wanted to do. Maybe this is just kind of a sort of a prototype, obviously a very well executed prototype for whatever the next Mario game could be. There is a little bit of like, okay, how do we want to view this? For me, I view it as like, hey, look, it is a 3D Mario game, so I'm going to put it on that pedestal of those other Mario games, and it falls far, far short for me.
Okay. Do you want? I mean, if you want to keep it on the list.
No, I don't think we should keep. I don't see it winning this category. Though.
I don't think it does.
Unless it wins it for you, Mark. Like,
it doesn't win it for me. So on that basis, and you know what, I will say this: of the two Mario games on here, I guess I was more disappointed with the other ones. So, fine, it can go. I've said my piece. It can go now.
Okay, Barry, you're up next.
No, that was me.
Oh, sorry, that was you. So it's back to Jack.
Okay. I mean, I've played and know about all of the games on here, I guess, except for 12 minutes. Does someone want to fill me in on 12 minutes?
I think Barry is the relative expert here. But,
I can absolutely fill you in on it, and I'll push back on it. I think.
Oh boy, this is a whole pushback round.
I will lean in.
It's me. Everyone keeps pushing back on it.
I will fucking back Barry to the hilt on this one.
All right, let's save that. Let's save that. Okay, because that is violent. Now, on the basis that this is a remaster remake.
No.
Yes.
No.
I want to take the GC off here.
No.
I hate to do it to you two in a row, Jack.
No.
Those are my two.
No.
Those are my two. Those are my two.
Number 1 and 2 with a bullet over here. Yeah.
They got to be 1 and 2 on this. Absolutely.
But this is a remake.
Those are number.
Goes against our rules.
Yeah.
It contravenes our rule set.
No,
if you want to take it out on that ground, I'll absolutely say fair enough. Yeah. If you don't want to counter remaster, that's fair. I think that's fair.
Well, what do we want to do for these then?
I've been very disappointed
because I wasn't the one that initially nominated these, but I absolutely joined in once it was on the list and go, yeah, let's nominate. This.
I mean, I nominated it as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it was so egregious that I was just like, yeah, because they put on 15 to 20-year-old games and fucking broke them.
Yeah,
because if we didn't get
PS2 games working 3 generations later, I broke it so bad it broke your launcher.
I think part of the reason we didn't add it in the Randy Pitchford section is because it ended up being added here, and I think quite rightly it does.
And everyone else sucked in that section. Like this sucked, but it didn't suck like abuse level suck. Yeah, and to me, it's the technicality of it. It's like I kind of felt uncomfortable with it being on here. I kind of felt like this is the conversation that I wanted to have. Is like, look, we said it at the start when you read out the rules, Dave. Like it had to have been released this year. It was released,
but
we
also have in our rules. We also have in our rules that we allow limited exceptions.
If this is an exception level enough for everyone,
do you know what? Like it's not my disappointment of the year. I'm going to go with Jack, and we can remove it.
To me, it's number 1 or number 2. It's probably it might be my number 1, depending on the mood you struck me in.
But Dave, how many of them have you played?
2 of them.
You played? Okay, right, fair enough.
I played all 3.
2 of the only one I haven't played is Vice City, and everything I've watched of that doesn't fill me with the confidence that it is in any way better.
It's not better, but it's fine. It is disappointing to call it. The thing that pisses me off the most, and I said it when Peter was on the show a couple of weeks ago, is the idea that this is a definitive version. Right. It isn't. Like it's not definitive.
It's the fucking like I feel like I would like to go back in a time machine to when we talked about Mario 3D All-Stars and say, boys, you've seen nothing yet in terms of lazy, let's just lamp it all into a box together. They made these games worse.
Yeah, I think I said that exact thing to Mark, I think, when he asked about this versus Mario. I was like, well, the thing about playing Mario 64 on the Switch on that 3D All-Stars package is it's very frustrating Nintendo didn't do anything with it. Yes. The real frustration, though, is that just the reality of playing Mario 64 in 2021, it's that game is disappointing you more than anything else. With this, no, it is the thing they did to it has made it worse is the problem. And the key for this category for me every year is not just which game sucks the most. It's which game sucks versus what did I anticipate for it. And I don't think people were going crazy ahead of time for this because they announced like a month before it came out, which was very red flag. Yeah. But it is the three of the most influential and iconic and best reviewed games ever.
Remember me on the podcast where I said, I think that all they're going to do is put a lick of paint on this.
Yeah.
And once they put a lick of paint on it and it works, I don't care. And it didn't even do that.
Yeah.
They put a lick of paint that someone had pissed in on it. And they just went into the physics engine. They just went and fucked it up. Like just enough that you can be like, right, I'll start playing this game. Oh, I'm enjoying it for 10 minutes. Oh, no, it's absolutely fucked. I've gone flying off into space. Like not even the kind of like fun little clippy glitches or anything like that. The thing is fucking just broken to all hell. Every time it rains in this game, I want to die.
Okay,
like that's how bad it is.
In GTA 3, it's awful. Right, fuck Skatebird.
No, in San Andreas,
Skatebird.
Can I just say as well, the rain thing isn't just GTA 3. In San Andreas, the one that was most recently made of all of them, the weather is absolutely fucked in it, and the new lighting engine is a complete piece of shit. Because half the characters, if you're doing a cutscene that happens anytime after lunchtime in that game, if anybody, God forbid, anybody has the sun behind them in a cutscene, because you can't see their fucking face. It's abysmal what they did to us.
I think the lighting issue was like, I imagine back in the day, they probably baked on a lot of the lighting onto the characters because you save on like memory that way, and because the game got ported into the Unreal Engine, and the Unreal Engine can do a whole bunch of other things.
The new light engine was a selling point.
I realized that
it was one of the 3 or 4 things they told us about the fucking game, and like, that was one of the 3 or 4 mainly broken things.
Yeah, and it's not even just the lighting as well. Like the character models in San Andreas,
they made the character models worse than they were in 2004.
Yeah,
like,
they are pretty bad.
Do that?
I think the funny thing as well about it is that like it like San Andreas in particular, that's the one I played. The issues with it are like really weird and kind of annoying in the kind of sense of like the lighting in particular is a big thing. So like you just look at that first cutscene where CJ goes into his house and there's big smoke and they have that conversation, that very first conversation, and you put them side by side, and it's kind of like on a purely technical basis, the textures are allegedly a higher quality in the newer version, so to speak, but it's so kind of unscientifically applied, for lack of, or no, not scientific, unartistically applied, perhaps. It's not taking into account the art style of what that game was, and it was just automated. Jarring. It looks jarring to this. And when I was talking to someone about it when the weekend it came out, and I was like, yeah, technically it's a super high quality texture, but this release feels kind of like a bad Blu-ray release of a classical film. And it's not that the film's playing backwards or it's upside down. It's that like the aspect ratio is like slightly off, and the color grading is like ever so slightly just not what you remember it as in a bad way. It's that's what that game is. This
is Rockstar. It's not like they are wanting for money or resources or people who know how to make a good-looking game that they couldn't have even put a few extra months worth into this and make it something that, even like I said, it didn't have to look like a PS5 game. It could have looked like a slightly prettier PS2 game once it worked.
I don't remember. Did they like sack off one of them to any other developer to like port them over, or was it all in-house?
It was in-house.
It was all in-house.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Look, Skatebird can come off. We can come back.
I'm going to take I'm taking Skatebird off this list, and I'm passing the buck. The thing is, I really hated because I feel like we don't need to talk about this anymore. So I'll get my final thoughts in.
Yeah.
I hated the idea that these are definitive versions, but I still played through.
Fucking gall.
Yeah, I know, but I still played through GTA San Andreas and completed it, and I enjoyed it. It's still a good game.
True.
And I managed to get around. Like, I think one of the first updates they did started crashing my PS5 like crazy, but then they did another update and it worked just fine. And I kind of got used to the lighting and everything. And it was, I didn't have any, by the time I completed the game, I had no problems with it really. There were small quality of life upgrades that I enjoyed, and it was fine. I think what they did is essentially just do it as a massive cash grab and invested no time in it. And I find it disgusting. But the fact that it isn't a this year game is kind of still a sticking point for me. Like, I feel like it survives probably towards the end just based on the level of passion that Dave and Barry have brought here. But yeah, I you know, it wasn't as bad as some of the other things for me on this list.
For me, still the most egregious thing is the fact that they took off those original games from the Steam launcher.
That was a piss take.
And
that's the sort of thing again that deserves to be in the previous, dodgy things in gaming category. But everyone else was way worse bastards this year.
I never would have thought that like them removing some of the songs would be about 25th on the list of things I had problems with about it. But anyway,
I am not unhappy that they removed Michael Jackson.
No.
At all, for very obvious reasons, which I will state here because I don't want anyone coming after me about shit. So
right, so I'm up next. I'm going to remove the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition at this point.
You son of a bitch! You son of a bitch! Are you fucking dare? You are leaving that on until the end now.
No, I think it's probably time for. Just trying to give Jack heart failure on the phone.
Oh dear.
I'm gonna get rid of eFootball. I think. I don't think it's not obviously by the last 5 minutes my biggest passion project on this list. It probably finishes third for me, and I'm the one that has the most skin in the game for football games.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, in spite of what I said in the last category, where there were a couple of real positive moves in the build up to eFootball. If you had slapped me in the face and said, think realistically, this is Konami, I probably would have set my expectations at roughly what happened.
Yeah. And it's free. And it's free. I think that's the biggest factor, is that you can play this, decide that you think it sucks ass big time, a bit like I did with Skatebird, and then just never think about it ever again.
Which is almost exactly what I did.
They still had the sheer gall to have a 31 quid DLC pack.
Now, if I'd bought that, if I'd bought that, it would be my number one by a long way.
Do you know what, actually, eFootball, having not played a single second of it, was actually probably one of the games that I enjoyed the most this year.
Yeah. Also, can I say one of my funniest gaming moments of the year was how they had to patch the demo.
Oh,
it's great.
Jesus. Konami, everybody.
Yeah, right.
The clowns of gaming.
Mark, you're next.
Okay. On the basis that it's the one I haven't played, I'm not striking it off, but I want to hear about 12 minutes and I want to see what is the case.
Barry, I'm blown up here.
Okay.
So I will back you, but you are the promo cutter here.
I'll just give. So like I said earlier, like, the big factor for me is, did you actually care about this coming out? And I did. This was on like a surprising amount of E3s for what ended up being a kind of fairly kind of short, handcrafted kind of experience.
I feel like a lot of that was just based on the cast more than anything else.
But kind of, no, because this game has been around for years before. Like, they just I think their last E3 before the game came out, they put out a new trailer and it was like, 12 minutes. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen this. And then they're like, Willem Dafoe, Daisy Ridley. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? When did you get these people? Awesome. But no, it was genuinely one of the kind of indie little standouts of the last couple of years. Super interesting premise. This is before we all got burned out on time loop stuff, before we started living in a time loop. Interesting premise, top-down perspective, which you don't get a whole lot of. and kind of coming in this kind of current age of the renaissance of the adventure game and things like that. So I was super excited for it. It got rebooted at least once during development. If you go back and watch the first trailer, the style of it is way more sophisticated in the final product than what they originally teased. It advanced a lot. It's one of those ones that with every trailer came out, it looked more and more impressive. And yeah, then they came out like not fucking around with this cast, not just, oh, we got some guys from Hollywood. That's neat because lots of games do that these days. It was James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, Willem Dafoe, 3 great actors.
Barry, can I just cut in as well? I find it really interesting. You talk about, because it goes into the pre-game hype. It actually won an award, like a creative design award called the Clio Awards for the best gameplay trailer.
Really?
In 2019, it won a Clio Award, which is, like I say, it's a company and a body that recognizes innovation and creative excellence in advertising, design, and communication.
I've also I find it really weird awarding awards to trailers.
Yeah.
I mean, they like marketing people have to pat themselves on the back.
You are the best at potentially lying to us, sir.
But it did trailer very well. Do you know what I mean? It did preview very well. It was intriguing, and then they got not only Hollywood talent but great Hollywood talent. This was published by Annapurna, by the way, which is probably what the connection was there. They have the connections, and they had a much better release this year that also had a lot of celebrity involvement as well. So then the game comes out, and before we get to like the real kind of calamity of this game, which there is quite a few, I think it's worth stressing it is like, and I was already predispositioned to not like this kind of genre of thing anyway. So this is possibly just me. It is the most anal adventure game of all fucking time, where it's like you don't have to figure out the solution to the puzzle. You have to figure out how to tell the game the solution to the puzzle. I cannot fucking stand that shit. It annoys me so much. It's why I as much as I might enjoy, the dumbed down baby versions, the Telltales of the world, it's why I can't go back and try my hand at the point and clicks of yore, because I can't deal with it.
And you know what, Barry, I am a fan of the genre. Like, I love Grim Fandango. Dark Side Detective was one of my favorite games of the year it came out. And even I with this was like, it was the ultimate expression of the answers to these puzzles only make sense to you if you already know the answer.
Know what they are, exactly. And I finished this game with a guide as well. I was talking to my buddy Paul about it. He played it after me, and he was like, oh
yeah. I was watching him play it on Twitch, and he was having a miserable time.
We talked about it on the podcast. He's like, oh, it took me about 5 hours. It took me about 2 because I gave up halfway through and just fucking got a guide. But anyway, it's just kind of like, so it's a time loop game. It's the loop is every 12 minutes. You're a guy in an apartment with his wife. Willem Dafoe shows up after a few minutes and kills you both, basically, is the initial loop, and then you have to figure everything out. And as you always do in a time loop story, there comes a point where you go to the other person, you say, hey, I'm in a time loop, and they don't believe you, so you have to find proof of it. And obviously the initial way you do that, as you'd expect in an adventure game, is you have to find a particular item that will give you the information that you can communicate to her. Hey, I know blank because I'm in a time loop. And you can basically, to 12 minutes credit, you can actually kind of fast forward some conversations to just get to that point. But what you can't do is, once you know the solution to that, once you know, did you do a spoiler warning at the top of this? Are we allowed to just go?
Look, we'll put it in the show notes, but it's game of the year. There's going to be
game of the year. There's going to be spoilers, and I'm telling you, this is a bad story anyway. So the one of the key things you can do to get her to know you're in a time loop is, when the loop plays out, normally she gives you a present, and it's a little baby grow, and she reveals she's pregnant, and you'd have no way of knowing this prior to the loop, so you don't know this. So what you can do is, in a loop, is you can go and get the present before she gives it to you and show it to her and say that you showed this to me. That's how I know I'm in a time loop. So this is about a half hour into playing this game. I already got furious. I went up to her and I pressed interact, and I was like, okay, tell her she's pregnant. No, why do I not have that text option? No, why do I have to go and get the item again? There's no way for me to know she's pregnant unless I already found out in the previous. Why do I have to go and get the item and say, oh, I know you put it in the fucking closet? Surely the pregnancy is the information I need to have. Why can he not just say it? And it's that over and over and over and over again.
This sounds like a game. It sounds like a game that like the developers made and were really proud of all these puzzles, but didn't actually play test it for anyone to see if the puzzles made any fucking sense.
And that's the thing. And it's like, because like I said, they do have, there's these completely arbitrary thresholds you'll cross where, now we're going to give you a sentence you can just say to skip that puzzle.
Yeah, there's no consistency.
There's no consistency. But for another puzzle, we're not going to give you that. There's one where so there's multiple endings, and to its credit, there is a million different ways the loop can go, but there's only like one. There's like 2 actual endings, but there's a million fail states. And one of the ones is you kind of have to let Willem Dafoe get a certain amount of steps through killing you both, basically, before you can point to, you have a photo pinned on the fridge that you can point to him and say, I can't even remember what it is. It's like, this is
Martha.
This is fucking Martha. Our mom's names are both Martha. Go look at the photo. And for some reason, like I picked up the photo to look at it, and my character puts it on them. And then so I'm trying to get this particular ending where it's like I use the photo to trigger a certain bit of dialogue.
Please tell me you hold it out and it goes, look at this photograph.
I wish it would not be in this category if it did that. But so I look at the photo, I get the piece of information on the photo, then he comes in, but because I physically took it off the fridge, I can't tell him to go look at it. And I'm like, well, can I tell him it's in my pocket? No, I cannot tell him it's in my pocket. I have to let him go through with killing me and then start the fucking loop all over again. So that next time I'll just have the completely random bit of sense to not take it off the fridge so that he can see it, when I could just realistically just tell him it's in my pocket. All that shit always frustrates me in these kind of games. To get to the real crux of the issue here, I'm probably going to butcher this, but just to get to the crux of it here, you end up finding out that your pregnant wife, who you impregnated,
is Willem Dafoe.
I wish. Again, Jack, all these ideas are like, this would not be in Disappointment of the Year if it was anything kooky like that. You find out, no, she's your sister. And there's been some kind of, like, again, and this is all very, how the mental block happens or the jump goes from, Dafoe was the defiant father who didn't want you two going out like some Romeo and Juliet situation. And then 10 million question marks, you're in this time loop where she's your fucking pregnant sister. Wow. They go full David Cage in the final act. There's also an end, the canonical ending is a weird, almost kind of Inception-y kind of thing where you're not sure if it's really ending or what's going on. And whenever you go so off the rails weird with that, I always try and really mull it over when it's done and think, listen, okay, it was weird and it seemed fucking stupid. Let's fucking think about this and think, is there anything I'm missing here where it's actually genius and I'm just being reactionary?
Maybe I'm the asshole.
Maybe I'm being the fucking idiot. And I'm like, is it some kind of gay message about fucking fatalism and you're always, or is it about fucking
everything happens for a reason?
Everything happens for a reason, or is this a you love who you love fucking story about where you fucking blew your beans up your sister? I don't know. By
the way, if this was a standard link to the cast, blew your beans up your sister would be the name of this episode.
I was like, I really tried to dissect it, and I was very annoyed when I finished. I was like, let's not be reactionary. I was like, am I just not fucking getting this shit? Do you know what I mean? Are the people who made this actually secretly the fucking David Lynch of video games, and they're being obtuse, but they've got something going on here that you don't realize? And I could not find it, and I didn't find an article or a podcast or anything where someone said, actually, no, here's what's great about it. No,
Barry, it sounds like what you've outlined is that they like the smell of their own farts a whole bunch.
Big time. That's why the biggest summation of it and the biggest insult
the smell of their own beans
is that it's indie David Cage. It's indie David Cage.
All right. This story ended up being. Most importantly, I think, is where does it sit on this list for you then?
Number one, absolutely.
Wow.
Because like I said, I thought the trailers are great. Oh, and actually one final point. I did learn a lesson from this game, which is that you can be a tremendous actor and not be a very good voice actor. I would love to, you guys to watch some gameplay clips of this afterwards. You would not pick these two voice actors out of a lineup. And if I told you they were Daisy Ridley and James McAvoy, you'd say, fuck off. Defoe is easy enough to pick up because he has a distinct voice.
Yeah, he's Willem Dafoe and everything.
Defoe's Defoe.
But the other two, and I think they're both great actors. I like them both in most of their other stuff. If you told me it was fucking Laura Bailey and someone else, I actually wouldn't believe you because of that. She would give a much better performance than Daisy Ridley. Just two really not good performances from those two main characters, which brings it down even further for me.
This is my if the ruling does come down that GTA has to go, then this is my number one. Otherwise, it's sometimes my number one, depending on my mood. It was just so profoundly based on all the promise that Barry outlined. It was just such a wet fart when it came out. It's like, oh, and so again, in a genre I like, you use the most tedious version of every trope within that genre.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what then. I have a feeling, I don't have a feeling, I know I am the only one here that has anything of remote to say about Super Meat Boy Forever, so I will just get it out of the way now.
I was going to ask about it, yeah.
It is my number one with a bullet. It was my number one with a bullet when I played it back in December of last year. I was like, this will be the thing that will disappoint me more than anything else that I play for the next 12 months. And even though I played some stuff that has disappointed me, it is still the most disappointing thing I played. Now, it goes without saying that anyone that knows me, I adore Super Meat Boy. It is still one of the best platformers of that type ever. It's still, some 10, 12 years later, it still plays better than most platformers that you play today. It is a perfect platforming game. It is clever. It is inventive with its level design. It just, everything that you could want, that I want. And, you see a lot of platforming games since that have clearly stole, like the Rayman games took so much from what Super Meat Boy did, but, just wrapped up in a kind of zany package. So the idea that, oh my God, right, there's a new Super Meat Boy game. Okay, well, it doesn't have Edmund McMillan involved. So that's, that kind of has me a little bit like, all right, well, we'll see. And it's an auto runner. It's a Super Meat Boy game as an auto runner, which just completely takes away the soul of what that original game is. And it has like procedurally generated levels, which I'm sorry, but like that works in a roguelite that doesn't work in a platformer, because you are then tied to making specific types of levels and you lose all of the creativity, certainly in like the end of game parts of Super Meat Boy, where they are still some of the toughest, most challenging levels I've ever done. And you can't really do that kind of thing because of what procedural generation is. It is just like a lot of it will come down to like where you place Super Meat Boy in the kind of grand pantheon of video games. I think it is one of the greatest games of all time. Like,
I'm with you.
And so the sequel, the follow-up to that game, is basically no better or worse than fucking Super Mario Run, So
does it have Danny V music? Because I know they had some weird falling out. No, well, so all they've got is the name, basically. Is Super Meat Boy.
It is. They slap Super Meat Boy on the front of it, and
that sucks.
So it's like Metal Survive equivalent, essentially.
It kind of is, but but even still, it's just it still has one of the two original people that made that original game.
Right.
Yeah, I know, man. But if you take like just oats out of like fucking Hall and Oates, like what have you got?
That is fair. But honestly, within the first 2 minutes of playing it, kind of like Skatebird, but obviously on a much bigger scale, it's like this just doesn't work. This is fucked.
I think you made it interesting because the funny thing, I never touched it because when they said runner, I was like, okay, no thanks. It's like, I didn't bother. But like you're not right. The original is one of the greatest games ever. I would absolutely co-sign that with you. So are you saying this to strike it? Like, is there something like?
Well, I don't know, because again, I'm the only one that played it. It is my number one, like with a bullet. But my problem that I'm going to run into, as I tend to with these types of fucking passion projects of mine, is I'm the only one that played it. So like it's hard to.
Are you auto running into that problem?
Yeah. And everything that's left is someone's passion project.
Oh yeah, I mean, I fucking hate Mario Golf Super Rush. Like
I also hate Mario Golf Super Rush, but I will say with that, Mario Golf Super Rush is just the other side of the coin that was Mario Tennis Aces. So like, as disappointed as I was with it, I was like, well, it is just kind of like that other game.
It's worse though. It's genuinely worse than Super.
Can I just say this now to test the waters, float it out there as an idea. Jack gives Mario Golf its due airing, and we just go to the poll. Because if we're all tied between passion projects, I think it's maybe the only equitable way to do it.
Let's just check here, right? So Barry absolutely is 12 minutes. Dave, are you sticking with GTA?
I'm either GTA or 12 minutes. Like if you guys forced me to take GTA off because of the old game thing, I would be backing Barry all the way on 12 minutes.
I was going to say, not even just because I know you'd back me. I was going to say, I think the fact that it's a remaster is a perfectly fair reason to take it off. And plus we gave it its due anyway. We gave it, it got its spiel.
Yeah, it sucks. It can fuck off.
I actually didn't realize Jack was also going with golf. I thought that was a Mark, because I know Mark just liked it.
Yeah,
I want to hear the case.
So GTA is gone. I am personally all in on 12 minutes, but Mario Golf, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, fuck this game. I love Toadstool Tour and the original Mario Golf 64, and when I saw it was going to be more of an RPG, I just immediately thought of like the Game Boy Mario Golf, a Game Boy Advance game that you could play that was so fucking great that like even kind of worked its way into, you could transfer characters across into Toadstool Tour and play it. And I kind of had a hope that it might be good like that. The rush element looked cool as well. Like you could run around the golf course and bump into each other and stuff. And I was like, that would be an interesting mode. If it was a mode, okay. Here's the thing I like about golf games that you play when you sat on your ass, right? Is that you can hit a shot and it goes bump, 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 and it lands, and then you're at the next shot. I do not want to spend 85 to 90% of the main fucking mode of the game running between my golf shots, because it forces me to do that if I'm going to complete the RPG mode. That is a game breaking thing. Like, that should be an option, and it honestly felt like the reason they were doing that was to pad the game out, because there was fuck all else content to it. Mark, you saw it. I watched you streaming how bad the assets were, how lazily designed the town was, how you couldn't even interact. There were people walking around the town and you couldn't even interact with them properly or have like a speech bubble.
I watched some of that stream as well, and it was so bare bones.
Flashbacks to Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
Right, just hideous. Like, the golf is fine, like when you actually just play golf, but some of the modes that it forces you to play, and just the running between shots, it doesn't need to be there. Like, there's no challenge to the game. At no point in any time during the game did I feel like there was any genuine peril for me not winning a competition. Like, there doesn't feel like there's a difficulty curve or anything. It's just flat, lifeless. The RPG thing of like, you being mates in a house with like a charging chuck and stuff like that, which I thought would be quite funny, as like a little collection of characters that all live in a house with each other and talk about how they enjoy golf and shit.
Nintendo Legends house.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it would have been better, right, if I'd just played a game where all the Nintendo characters were interacting with each other in a house, and every now and then we played around a golf. But it wasn't that. They did nothing with the RPG mode. They did nothing to develop the story. They made you do a bunch of shit that I couldn't be bothered to do. The actual golf was just okay. And like, that's the best thing I can say about it. It was a huge disappointment to anyone that's ever played any of the previous Mario Golf games, because like the previous Mario Tennis games, the standard was really high, and I would argue the standard was higher with the Mario Golf games than it was with the Mario Tennis games, save for maybe a Mario Tennis on Nintendo 64.
No, but like Toadstool Tour and the GBA Mario Golf games are exceptional.
Class, yeah, right. And the RPG modes on the Game Boy Advance one is fucking great.
It is.
Like, it genuinely feels like you're building your way up. And we've played Golf Story in the last couple of years, guys, which was real fun. And it went in some real odd directions. Now, I'm not expecting that from a Nintendo game. I'm not expecting it to have any fun, weird, creative stuff like that. But at least there was like a story and a feeling of development, and the characters got to know you and all of that. But there was none of that at all. You can't call something an RPG if you're barely developing any skills other than just the power on your shots, that you can hit the ball further than everyone, so you can just cheese the whole game. Honestly, that's not an RPG.
I don't think the game is an RPG game. I don't even think it's a golf game. I think it's a platforming game that has like a golf mechanic attached to it. It feels like, and the most distilled way I can put it is, it feels like a mini party game from a Mario Party game with like really bad controls, but it's then extended out to 10 hours.
Yeah. And I was just furious at the whole thing. And there's like a mode where you have to like whack the ball. Like you've got a golf course, but you've just got to whack it to like different parts of it. And it's not really playing golf. Do you remember that, Mark, where you just got to like launch it like hundreds of yards and then land it within a field and then land it within the next field and land it within the next field?
The only thing I remember specifically that really pissed me off is like the thing, and I get it as like an idea, as a concept that, hey, here are the 9 holes and you can do them in any order you want. Like you can whack them around and do however you want to do it. Like as a
That's not how golf works though. Like,
but it's like all right, I get it's a Mario Golf game. This is not a simulation.
Yeah,
but
like Tiger Woods is just going to go to the 7th hole to start today because he fancies it.
Yeah, it's like I get it as an idea, as a wacky concept, but what you've done is you've just made an inferior version of golf that I don't want to play because this is not fun.
And that level where you do that and you can run around and play whatever hole you want, blah blah blah. And they have it with the cliffs. Like if you fall off one of those
the fucking
cliffs,
tornadoes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, you got it's just the worst thing.
To get back up, you have to step into a fucking tornado, which catapults you roughly in the air, and the camera spins you around so much you don't know where the fuck you are. You can't see. And if you land on the ledge, you're lucky. If you don't land on the ledge, I had to do it like 3 or 4 times. And sometimes it's easy to just run all the way around, and running all the way around, I'm going to say
that bit has all of the fluidity of like a 6-month Unity project made by a couple of 18-year-old students.
Abysmal. All of the assets in the game look like they just came out of a standard asset catalog. Even the music isn't as good as it could be for a Nintendo game. And I like all of the little fun bits and pieces that you normally love about Nintendo games that kind of make you feel whole, make you feel warm, make you feel like you're playing something of a superior quality than anything else. None of that just feels there. It just feels so lazy, so disappointing considering what's come before. And it sucks. And it's my number one. I don't expect it to win. I really don't. But if I didn't get this shit out in this format on this Game of the Year show and bury it properly, I would have been very upset. But
I will say, I think most likely then I do think the 12 minutes is probably going to take this, because
it sounds like it.
Because even though I am absolutely on board with everything, and like Mario Golf was astoundingly disappointing, I still I'm sticking to my guns, and I would be lying to myself if I said that anything other than Meat Boy Forever was the most disappointing thing. So I do think the 12 minutes is going to
12 minutes sounds dumb as hell. I think Barry did such a good job of explaining how dumb it was and everything. And like, I know that I'm never going to be able to get Mario Golf over here as the most disappointing, but
I thought you outlined exactly what I heard a lot of other people say, and I watched Mark's stream as well, and I thought it was really, and like, the funny thing is, I can't say it was my most disappointing because I didn't play it, but I remember watching all those directs and like, that looks great. I was like, that looks awesome. I was excited. So I was certainly disappointed in the fact that I ended up not bothering to play it based on what everyone said. So
I think ultimately, guys, a very disappointing year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
It looks like with 2 votes, we are settled. The most disappointing game of 2021 is 12 minutes.
We'll get that trophy over to James McAvoy in good time.
And before we wrap up this category, let's go to the listener poll just to see who would have won.
I'm actually curious. I would have loved a little 3-way tie there just to see.
Yeah, I would have stuffed the ballot box with Mario Golf votes.
The winner of Disappointment of the Year, according to the listeners of Link to the Cast, by the widest margin in all of Game of the Year this year, with a staggering 65.5% of the vote. It's GTA.
Okay.
That makes sense.
The only other one that charted above 10% is Mario Golf. So the ballot box was stuffed by Jack Lazell.
Interesting.
Well,
I thought when Jack cast his vote and put his name in a different language, I thought he was about to stuff the ballot box.
I would say that those games were probably the ones that were played the most in this category as well. So hands out.
Just for confirmation, I wrote my name is Jacques Lecube, and then in brackets French and also a cube. And that reference is there for anyone who gets it.
Mario Golf was on 13.8. Everything else sub 10%.
Yeah.
Right.